Hi everyone, thanks for watching. Today I'm doing another melt and pour soap tutorial. And this one's going to be just pretty simple, a basic tutorial. I'm just going to use the cupcake mold that I have, and I'm going to be using some white shea butter melt and pour base along with the clear melt and pour base, and I get those from Crafter's Choice. To kind of get an idea of how much soap I needed for this mold, because I always forget what I need to measure out, I went ahead and filled up one of the cavities with water and then put a cup on the scale to kind of let me know how much was in there. Now, when you do fluid ounces versus like weight ounces, it comes out a little different. So this was just like a starting reference point, and each cavity was about 2 ounces. So I kind of used that as a reference point to get started when I was cutting down my soap. I'm also using the blueberry and lavender fragrance oil from Crafter's Choice, and that I want to let you know, it does smell very fruity and floral. It is a very light scent though. I feel like I put a lot in the soap and it still could use more because I couldn't smell it quite enough. I'm hoping that when I actually use the soap that the fragrance comes through a little bit better. And you'll see that I also was using the little cavity, the 9-ball cavity soap mold for the toppers. That holds about 2 ounces for the entire mold, but I only wanted about 6 little blueberries for the top to kind of give it a blueberry look. So I didn't fill up quite the 2 ounces. I just filled what I thought I needed for the project. I did also have a little bit of the blue that I melted down left over, so I just went ahead and started those out in the actual cavities themselves. And I'm also using my temp gun because some of you guys have asked what temps I'm pouring at. So I'm trying to show that as I go throughout the video. Every soap base is going to be a little bit different, so you do want to keep that in mind when you are following along with somebody doing melt and pour soap. It just kind of depends on the base because they all melt at a different point. The first part though I did to kind of complement the blue on top, I put a little blue in each of the cavities just so that you can get, like, again, that same color scheme. I wanted to pull it through from the top to the bottom of the actual soap itself to just give it a more like unified look. I also poured the next color of the yellow on top, and I kind of let that sit a little bit so it started to get a light skin on top. As you can see, the temps on these are coming down to about 107 degrees. The shea butter base is still way too hot, so I kind of stirred that a little bit more because I didn't want it to really necessarily break through that layer, and I didn't want it to melt the other layer. So I'm also splitting this off into 2 sections so I can have a little bit white left over, because I wanted to do a drizzle on top of the blueberries when I was done, but I didn't have quite enough in the mold, so I ended up having to kind of organize it a little bit at the end. Also for this recipe, I'm using about a tablespoon entirely for the soap. I did forget to add it to the first little layer that I put in there, so I didn't do it until I added the shea butter base melt. So it could be also another reason why the smell is not coming through as strong as I would have liked it to. So the little balls have been sitting for about 2 hours, and so has the other soap. The top layer of the soap in the cupcake mold is completely hardened, but it's still like a slightly bit squishy because it's not all the way solid all the way through. So if you wanted to wait even longer, you could before pouring another layer on it. But I was ready to go ahead and start getting the blueberries topped on the little cupcakes. So to adhere the little blueberries, I saved that white that I was telling you about earlier, and I poured that on top, and then I just stuck the little blueberries on top of everything. And I wanted to put some of the calendula petals on the soap as well, so I saved a little bit more and I put that on top. This one I considered done because it was pretty full. Plus, I kind of wanted to try something else with it, so I just set it aside. But as you can see, the layers, they didn't really break through. The blue is not quite enough on the bottom, but it was a good start. And if you are using botanicals, calendula flower petals are really the only kind of petals that you can use in melt and pour that won't go rancid or get moldy on your soap. So if you're new to soap making and you wanted to use florals, that is a good one to use. I just thought the yellow would complement the kind of color scheme I had going here very well, so that's why I chose them.